I'm Shauna Barr, and I'm here in my kitchen today to answer a question that we get a lot from our customers. And that question is, what is a stewing hen and what do you do with it? So in order to answer that question, I thought it would be better to do it on video so I could actually show you rather than just tell you. And you need to know a little something about chickens. There are basically two categories of chickens out there in the world. There are chickens raised for meat, and there are chickens that are primarily raised for eggs. And both of them are bred to have certain characteristics that are favorable, either for meat production or for egg production. So a stewing hen is actually a crossover. It is an egg-laying hen that has reached the end of its productive egg-laying life and then has been harvested for eating. And so that is what a stewing hen is, and now I want to show you what that really means. And first of all, I want to show you, this is a chicken that has been raised for meat. And this is a beautiful pastured broiler. Sometimes they're called a roaster. This was raised on a local farm. It was raised on pasture. And it's just a beautiful bird. It's got lots of soft meat all over its breast. The legs are really huge. The skin is thin. And so it's going to be really easy to bite and to chew. This is the chicken that you want if you want to make a roast chicken dinner, or if you want to do barbecue. And then when you've eaten all of the meat, the carcass is going to make a really nice broth. So this is a great chicken. This is a typical meat chicken. So in comparison, this is a stewing hen that we butchered here on our farm. Oh, and what I should have told you too, one of the most important differences between these birds is that this chicken here is only 8 weeks old, if you can believe that. It is just genetically been bred to grow really, really quickly. So it grew from a tiny chick all the way up to this about 5-pound size in only 8 weeks. This chicken, on the other hand, was over 3 years old when we butchered it. And during those 3 years, this chicken laid lots of eggs. It ran around. It ate lots of grass and bugs and foraged and scratched. And as a result, it has less meat. The meat is firmer, and it has a very well-formed bone and connective tissue structure. It also has thicker skin. And what that means, what this bird trades in meat, it makes up for in flavor. The older an animal, the more flavor that they have. And if we're trying to get nutrition from the bones and the connective tissue and the cartilage and the fat, as well as just the meat from our pastured animals, these older birds really pack it in with nutrition. The older the bird, the more flavorful, the more nutrient dense the broth. And so that is the main difference between these two. This bird has a lot of soft, tender meat. This bird is going to have less meat and a lot more flavor. Both of them can be made into broth, but the broth that you make from these stewing hens is absolutely superior in flavor and nutrition. And a lot of people don't know the difference because they've never had anything except young birds. And that's another interesting thing. This stewing hen has no commercial counterpart. That means you are not going to find this chicken at a grocery store ever. You have to get these directly from a farmer, and they usually are only available once or maybe twice a year. So they're really a special thing, and you know, if you have access to them, it's probably worth putting a few in your freezer. Okay, so I'm going to show you my really simple method for making broth from my stewing hens and also making the most of the meat. So this stewing hen I cooked by just covering it in this pot with just a little bit of water, just enough to cover it, brought it to a boil, and then turned the heat down and let it simmer for about 3 hours. And so that just got my broth started, but it also just cooked the meat on the bird. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, now that the bird is cool and it's cooked, I'm going to just pull the meat off the bones. And like I said, these stewing hens don't have a lot of meat, but the meat that they do have is really, really flavorful, and it's also really nice and firm. So it's gonna hold up really well in your dishes like tacos or chicken pot pie or enchiladas. So I'm gonna pull it off and just set it aside. All right, so now what I have left here is a nice little pile of meat. This is gonna just go into the refrigerator until I'm ready to use it, maybe in a soup, maybe in a chicken pot pie. We might do some tacos. But this carcass here, I'm going to put every bit of it back here into my pot. The skin, the bones, everything back into the pot. And now I'm also going to add a couple chopped carrots, chopped onions, skins and all. The skins actually give it a nice pretty color. A couple garlic cloves. This is a bay leaf. And you can also add some celery or some parsley, whatever you have. And it's actually a great way to use up your ends of your vegetables throughout the week as you're cutting celery or the ends of your onions. You can just throw them in a bag in your refrigerator instead of putting them in the compost. And then when you're ready to make broth, you just can dump them in. I'm also going to add 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This is 1 tablespoon for every gallon of water approximately. It's not a real exact science. But what the vinegar does is it helps to break down the bone, the cartilage, those connective tissues, and allows the nutrients and the flavor to break down and to infuse your broth more efficiently. And so we add that in. I'm also going to now just cover it up with a little bit more water. There's about 3 gallons in this pot, and you can get away with 3 gallons of water for every 1 chicken carcass. It's going to cook down a little bit in the process, but it's okay you to start with, up to 3 gallons of water for 1 chicken, just depending on the size of your pot. And now this is going to go on the stove. I'm going to turn it on high and bring it up to a boil. Once it's boiling, I'm going to turn the temperature way down until it's just at a gentle simmer, and put the lid on, and I'm going to let it cook like that for 24 hours. Okay, and so here is what my finished product looks like. 24 hours of a gentle simmer in the pot, and I strained out all my bones and my vegetables. My farm dog is going to love this because the bones are now nice and soft. Really good nutrition for him. And if you want a more clear broth than what I made, you can put a little piece of cheesecloth in this, and that will drain out or strain out all the little bits of meat and fiber and that kind of thing. I did a little coarser strain, but I wish you could smell the house. It smells so delicious, and that 1 chicken yielded 7 quarts of this amazing broth. I mean, and again, you cannot buy this in the store. There is no commercial equivalent flavor and in nutrition. And so some of this is going to go in a soup for tonight's dinner. The rest is going to go in the fridge for use over the next couple of weeks. And this will keep in your fridge for at least 2 weeks. And what's going to happen here is that the fat is going to rise, and you're going to get this beautiful layer of yellow chicken fat on the top, and it's going to harden. Don't mess with that. That makes a nice little cap right on top of your broth that actually preserves its shelf life. And so that is how I use a stewing hen, and I hope that answers your question as to what a stewing hen is and what you can do with it. We are going to have some stewing hens available this year in a limited quantity, and if you are interested in putting some of those in your freezer, you can read down below this video for some instructions on how to do that. And if you want more information on making broth and using it, we are going to be having a class this fall on making bone broth from a variety of different bones, pork, beef, chicken, and how to use it and how to store it. So you can be looking for information about that coming in a future email. Thanks.